Welcome to Hello Chaos, a weekly podcast exploring the messy and chaotic minds and lives of founders, entrepreneurs, and innovators. Each week, I have the privilege to speak with founders across the business spectrum, founders from different industries at various stages, from startups to mature businesses of all shapes and sizes. Our listeners get to hear the real, the raw, the unvarnished viewpoints and stories, getting incredible insights on what it takes to start and scale a business, to become a better founder, a better CEO, or just really a better business leader in the community. Today, we have on our show Jules Weldon and Stace Pierce. They are the founders of OME Gear and BoldSKY Foundation. And I've been looking forward to this all week to do the recording because their story is just fantastic and incredible. Welcome to Hello Chaos, Jules and Stace. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much.
Thanks. We're excited to be here.
Yeah. And you said you guys are calling out of Dallas today.
We are.
This venture, and you guys had pretty much, just start out, before we get into your journey, you guys just kind of closed on something pretty fantastic in your journey. Big investment?
Well, we're literally
about to. Well, let's
as we're
all cross our fingers, everyone cheerlead. Hopefully by the time this episode airs, it will all be put to bed and done, and we can get some champagne out. But start us out, what inspired you to start OME Gear? What is that journey like, and where are you today in the journey?
That's a big question.
So I know, because your journey is just so incredible. So incredible.
Do you have 3 hours?
I'll go back and try to make it really short, and then Stace we often tell this story together, so she'll chime in where appropriate for sure. But so the original concept of our product, OME Gear, was back in 1998. My dad got it patented. It was just a 2-in-1 because he and my mom saw a single mom coming off the beach with her 3 kids, and she was miserable. And so they went up and napkin sketched, like the American dream. They napkin sketched this lounger that if you flipped it up on its end, it became a dolly. And this was before beach wagons were all the rage. And so my dad got it patented, but couldn't figure out how to take it to market. We now know that it's so hard to take a product to market. But he got it patented, which was a really cool thing. And so it just sat on the shelf. My mom had her own business up in Westchester, Pennsylvania, of wedding cakes and party cakes. And so she needed him to focus on that with her. And so he kind of put the other one up on the shelf, his idea. And so fast forward 12 years later, I was working for one of the largest consulting firms in the world. And I got tired. Frankly, I got tired of working 70, 80 hours a week for somebody else. And I ended up calling up my dad one morning and just said, "Dad, what would you think about me trying to take your product to market?" And my dad is one of both of our heroes now, but he started crying and said that would be a dream come true. Absolutely. Yeah. And so he assigned the patent over to me. He gave me all of his drawings, all of that. And I ended up recruiting someone who was a partner of mine, a mentor of mine, to come on board with me. And so we did. And so we ended up partnering with a manufacturing firm out of North Carolina. And initially it felt like a marriage made in heaven until it was. Yeah. Until it wasn't.
Is that just because we've heard this before from so many founder startups? The first manufacturer partner was a bust.
Yeah.
First, second, third.
Yeah. Well, it's really, really hard. If anybody listening is in the product space, it's one of the biggest things. It's like finding your partner for marriage is like your manufacturing partner, because they can make or break you. And my first one, it just was our values did not align. And so I ended up walking away. And then lots of stuff in between. Stace and I started a coaching consulting business for primarily women founders. And I think that's really where our love for women founders and our passion for them was born. But then in 2018, we were like, gosh, nobody's taken this idea of this transforming product for the beach, or really for the outdoors. So we picked it back up and completely redesigned it and took it to market. And we're getting incredible success. And we raised a couple $1 million in funding from, friends, family, investors, our own self. We got to the point, and you can pick up here, where we ended up having to sell our house.
Yeah. So it was 2020, that year.
A lovely year.
Yeah.
that everyone loves.
Yeah. But it was 2019. We'll go back to December 2019. We were with a manufacturer in China. I was able to go over there 2 times that month. I'm over a new product design and development. And so I was able, Jules went with me the first time, and then I went by myself the second time and went to our manufacturer, and the product was completely wrong. They were supposed to ship 2,500 over before Chinese New Year. And I was so mortified. And we had just gone over there 2 weeks earlier, and it was right. And something happened and it changed. Something happened and it wasn't right. So then we get a call and they're like, oh, we're only going to ship over 100 units, and it's only going to be 2 of the 5 colors. And we're like, what is going on?
Right.
And
did you guys figure out what was going on?
Well, I'll get to that.
Okay.
So we funded on Kickstarter. So we knew we had Kickstarter orders to get out. We're like, what are we going to do with these? We don't have enough, and they're not right. The armrest, you would sit in it, and the armrest went all the way down, and it was just awkward. And so we were working with a rep out of Nashville to help us with this. And all of a sudden, when COVID hit, our manufacturer went completely silent on us. And they owed us money. And so we were left scrambling, going, okay, we have 100 units that we can't do anything with. What we did was mail all 100 units out to our Kickstarter supporters and tell them everything that was wrong on it. And we were like, we already know these things are wrong, and we will send you the real deal when we figure out the manufacturing piece. Because we didn't want to be that Kickstarter that we're so late on shipping out the product.
Right. So at least they could see, hey, this is support us, see us in a work in progress.
Right.
That's right.
Yeah.
And, I have to give that was Jules's idea. It was brilliant because they came back, and all of a sudden they were part of our team. Like these people were a part of our team to go, what did you think about this? And so we could actually go to the drawing board before we were even out into market.
You got a built-in focus group for product development research.
Right.
I mean,
there were
brilliant.
People who said, we'll just wait. We know you're good. And so there were a bunch of people who said no. But the ones who said yes, exactly, they gave us incredible feedback.
Right. Instant brand ambassadors.
Right.
That's right.
And so then we did not have a manufacturer. We were like, okay, what's next? And so Jules and I, we're in this world pandemic. We forgot that we thought we were just in our own little bubble, but we get on Zoom calls with so many people, and one thing led to another, and we found another manufacturer. And his name is Oliver, and he was in China. And so we were like, Oliver, we need this quick. And this was already May. May when we met Oliver. And so we sent him over a sample. And at that point, the shipping wars had already started. And, a $6,000 container went up to $36,000.
Yeah.
And so we were kind of going back and forth, but I couldn't get over to China. And so I'm having to wait for product from him to say yes or no or whatever. And so all that to say is we found a manufacturer, and just how small this world is. He is a Chinese Mormon. He went to BYU. He speaks English. And I have known his family for years and didn't realize it. His family had a restaurant in Columbia, South Carolina. So that to us was like a God link, and he was able to ship our good units over by November of that year, of 2021 or 2020. Sorry. But Jules and I ran out of money during the year. We had pitched and we couldn't find funding, and it was our product was already on the water. Yeah. We didn't have money to pay for it. So it was the day before Christmas or 2 days before Christmas. And Jules looked at me and she goes, how much do you believe in this product? We didn't have anything. There wasn't one Christmas present bought. There was,
everything went into the business.
Everything. And we didn't get the PPE money, and we didn't get the EIDL because all of our, we didn't have sales at that point really. And all of our team was contractors. So, and so Jules looked at me. She says, how much you believe it in this? And I said, with all my heart. She goes, the only thing we have left is our home. And so we decided at that moment to sell our house and to take the equity to get our product, because he had diverted it to a warehouse in Utah that we couldn't get to.
Whoa.
And not that he's a bad guy. He's not, but he's a
Right.
business guy. And so he needed to get his money, and we understood that. And so we were able to sell our house, but then we were like, oh no, what are we going to do now? Because at that point, we didn't have a plan B as far as where we were going to live. Charleston's super expensive. And so Jules and I were like, what if we got an RV, financed an RV? Everybody else is doing it. And so we financed an RV and we wrapped it in our branding and we hit the road. Now, here's the funny part is neither one of us had ever been in an RV.
Was it a like not a hitch one? Was it like a full like you drive it?
Yes, it was a 32-foot RV, and we towed a car. So neither one of us had ever driven an RV. And the crazy part of this is a 16-year-old, if they have a driver's license, you don't need a special driver's license.
That's what I was like. You don't need a CDL license to get behind the wheel
and pull a car. And so we did take RV driving lessons for a week. Yeah. But
in the parking lots.
We actually drove. We had an instructor. But for the 2.5 years we were on the road, I never drove the RV.
That's not true. She drove it once in a parking lot and hit the parking cones. And I was like, no.
And she's like, you know what? I know what my strengths are. This isn't one of them.
We made an agreement in the beginning that if I drove all the time, that she had to clean out the poop chute. And I was like, that's fair.
That is fair.
It only takes time for it to blow up on you that you'll never make that mistake again.
I was like, I might be going, no, I'm going to learn how to drive. I don't know if I could do that.
Right. And I was the fixer. So if anything small went, I was able to fix it. And, if something big happened, we were able to call people in. But so we traveled for 2.5 years in a brand new RV with, QR code. And that RV's still driving around. It's not ours anymore. We sold it, but the owner now, he's like, no, I love it. And
he still keeps the branding on. That's fantastic.
Yeah. And he kept our name and everything. And so that was our journey for 2.5 years. And we came off the road.
We always know when he's on the road because our website traffic spikes like 200 or 300%.
Yeah.
Really?
We've had so we're from South Carolina, but we've had a friend call us in Alabama. It's like, how dare you be in Alabama and Beaumont, Texas, Beaumont, Texas, and not call us? And and we're like, we're not there. He goes, the heck you aren't. He goes, I was right behind you on the interstate, and we're like, that's not us.
That's not us anymore. So did you guys just go to different areas that would be that people would use the OME gear and go to grassroots type of thing, selling the product? Or
we literally sold it. The product's called the Wanderer, and we literally sold one Wanderer at a time, and then met with stores or retail locations, that sort of thing. We went to events and trade shows, and it was literally a 2.5 year tour all across the US building our brand.
So when did you guys say, all right, that we've done this, it's now time to not be nomads? What was?
Yeah, honestly, JJ, it was all about money. We had done 2.5 years and that was a lot, but we got to a point where we needed money again. And you'll see that this is sort of a thread that goes all throughout our story. Because, and honestly, I'm kind of at the point where I'm tired of telling this statistic, but it is what it is, that less than 1.5% of all funding goes to women. And then it's less than that to women in the product space. And so while Stace and I, we just looked at each other one day and we said, you know what, let's stop talking about that statistic and let's do something about it. That thread of it being so challenging for a woman to take a product to market, that's what birthed BoldSKY Foundation. And we can talk about that later, but
I was wondering if that's what sparked it of we see this gap. It is a problem that women are passed over, but yet the stats of women founded businesses, especially product in the product space, outperform male-led businesses and founders by I think it was 10-1.
Yeah, they do. We went to an angel investors conference and we spoke at it, and we said, how many of you guys, if we had a product right now that's apparel and we would promise you that it makes you look skinnier and all of that, how many of you would be interested in seeing a pitch deck? And not one of them raised their hands. And we said, if Sarah Blakely came to you and said, I've got a product, how many of you would wish that you were on her cap table? And every one of them, it was 80% white men in the room, and 80%, 100% of them raised their hands. And we said, that's it. So what's happening right now is there's this beautiful movement, uprising of women in the product space, and women investors, women VC firms. I mean, women are really starting to say, we don't want to take the seats at the table. We want to add more chairs, right?
That's right.
We value men very much, and we believe that men bring a part to business that we could never bring. But there needs to be a reckoning that women also bring a part to this business that men can never bring. And so there does need to be equity at the table. And that's really what we're looking at being a part of, and really not necessarily pioneering, because there are a lot of women who have gone before us and are
like Kendall Scott's like pushing this agenda. I think she did a wonderful keynote at South by Southwest a couple weeks ago, talking about the same very stuff, that she got passed over how many times. And and Sarah Blakely said the same thing of like, this, it is a gap, and we're seeing it in South Carolina, in not product space, but in life science, especially like around devices and stuff that are in the, in the tech world. Women are not getting the attention they need and the pipeline they need to cultivate, especially in that life science, like healthcare, pharmaceutical, with all the regulations and all that. And so I applaud you guys for being a solution. And, and if we can amplify that. I mean, I'm a female founder, and I work with other female founders, and it's heartbreaking when you hear the stories, but it's like you said, can't focus on that. How do we be the solution?
Yeah. Totally. So I want to talk about BoldSKY and what that looks like, and really the what brought it to light to us is Jules and I were in Vegas, and we were at a trade show, and we're not gamblers, so we're more hikers. We went out to hike down to the Colorado River. And we knew that a friend of ours, Sarah Kinsfather Yerkes, was passing away at that moment. And she was a fierce advocate for female entrepreneurs and just a huge fan of ours. And we knew that we wanted to do something in her honor. And as Jules and I are walking down to the river, Jules is like, let's talk about Sarah before she passes, like while she's still here, like what she's meant to us and everything. Wow. And I said a little prayer before we left on our walk, our hike. I said, God, send us a sign. Send us a sign that Sarah's going to be okay. Now, we don't know what okay looks like, and that means she's going to, but she's just going to be okay. And as we go around the bend, we look up, and I start crying, and Jules is like, what's going on? And there are 8 ram up on the mountain, and that was a sign. And in that moment, that's when BoldSKY, Sarah Kinsfather Yerkes, was her initials, was born. And so that is the whole story behind it. But BoldSKY Foundation has actually morphed into other things. We have the foundation that will help women get the coaching and the services they need. And then we are going to have BoldSKY, and then also seed funding. And then we'll have, because we'll have a LLC attached to that, so we'll be able to get seed funding. And then we have both, but sometimes that's not enough. I mean, $25,000, $50,000, $100,000 doesn't push the needle in a lot of these businesses. And so the next will be BoldSKY Venture, that will be able to invest bigger money. And we've had conversations with other women groups that want to be a part of that. And then the last is BoldSKY Industry. So we can actually build some manufacturing here in the U.S. Jules and I tried to bring our product back to the U.S. because this is what we heard people wanted. It was virtual.
We don't have the infrastructure. We do not have the infrastructure yet. I don't think a lot of people understand the landscape of manufacturing and the supply chain network. And there's a lot of myths and false narratives that it's, yes, we need to make movements to do that, but it is not as easy as people think it is.
No, it's not at all. And so we want to be a part of that change. So we want to be the paradigm shift in all aspects of what people need for their inventions, for their products. And so that's kind of where we're going. That's where we're heading.
That's where you're going. So where does OME Gear stand? Are you guys kind of saying, okay, we're going to put pause on that, or is that just kind of now it's in a machine? It's already in shops. I mean, where is that?
Yeah, it's we're in a bit of a holding pattern with OME Gear right now on this, waiting on this investment. Once this investment comes through, we'll literally be off to the races, where we're bringing in a management team to come and run OME Gear, still very much under our direction and our vision. Right. But we'll have multiple other entities that we're going to be focused on. And one of those is BoldSKY. And we're also bringing in a CEO for BoldSKY, because we really need to kind of, elevate ourselves to the overall strategy and leadership position to really make this vision become a reality. But no, OME is one of the, we'll sort of redesign our current Wanderer, because I mean, in a product, especially in one as complex as ours, what we put into the market is good. It's really good, but we want to make it be excellent, right?
The best.
We've heard a lot of feedback, and so we're going to go into Gen 2 of it. And then we also are going to be putting out an outdoor wheelchair that's transformable and foldable and affordable and all of those things, because what we've heard from a lot of our customers is, hey, can we use the Wanderer for transporting, my grandma or my mom or my daughter or whatever? And then we have to say no, because it's not, not been rated for that. We know that there's a huge need for an affordable outdoor wheelchair to allow people to get outside and enjoy. So that's one of the products that we're really, really excited about rolling out.
Nice. So what did you get? Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, a lot of people, you'll see the product if you go to our website at omegear.com. But it's very complex. I mean, there's 143 parts of this product, and so it's super complex, and it cost us almost right at $1,000 just to design it. And so I mean, it is a complex, because we needed to make sure all the hinges, what we're asking that they do, and so I mean, creating the
durability, especially with use it in the sand and salt, and
And Jules and I often say, why didn't we develop the Kleenex? Why do we have to do the hardest thing coming right out of the gate?
Well, yeah. Well, who else was going to do it, right?
That's right.
So what did you guys discover most about yourself during this journey?
I'm going to give, to your questions, I'm going to give the first thing that comes to mind. And the first thing that came to mind was how resilient we are.
That was my word.
Just when we thought that we were at the end of our rope, we found another string to hang on to. And I think part of it is because we're together, and Stace and I are married to each other. And so that helps a lot, where when we have a theory, a little red wagon, when one of us is tired and that we sit in the wagon and the other one pulls us. And so that's really helped us keep going. But I think even more than that, it's our faith. So we have a really, really strong faith and belief that God has called us to this. And when God calls you to something, if you walk away, it's disobedience. And so for us, it's just had to be part of our story. And I think we've had to experience the hardships that we have, so that when people come into BoldSKY, we can relate to them, and we can relate to the heartache and the pain and the fear that comes along with being, an entrepreneur, specifically in the product space, because it is different. An entrepreneur in the service business is different to the one in the product space, because the product space, it costs so much more. I mean, you have to have inventory, you have to have product design, you have to have shipping, there's all these extra things that almost force you, unless you were born with a silver spoon and innate investment people, it almost forces you to it's just a different level of fear and trepidation, I think, that comes with being product.
And I think that's where, there's that love-hate with PE and investment firms, or, venture that never been founders and entrepreneurs, that we hear that a lot. Again, we've talked to so many founders and entrepreneurs of deepest regret of, it was great to get that money, but the pressure of these people have never been, never run a business. They don't understand the pressure. They're putting more pressure on me, and they don't understand the landscape of whatever category they're in. If it's manufacturing, they don't understand those complexities, or if it's like pharmaceutical and life science, I don't understand those complexities around regulations and going to market. And yeah, it's just, so the fact that you guys are kind of coming in like, we're going to cradle you.
Yeah.
We're going to cradle the pipeline,
That's right.
and help cultivate and nurture it in the way that needs to be, needs to be done. And I think it's a gap. We're seeing those bubbles pop up in, like I said, life science, area. But I think you're the first one that I've heard, other than I think like the Sarah Blakely and like a Kendall Scott in that product, but they're in the fashion space, right? Too. I mean, I know there's also complexities more in like, outdoor gear and some like technical aspect of it. So it's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
That you guys are filling a gap that's not really there. I mean,
we are, and that's a true entrepreneur, right? Where if we could have only had BoldSKY when we were taking OME Gear to market, our journey would have been really different, because we say we want to fill in the potholes with rocks so that people coming beside us and behind us don't have as traumatizing of a journey. I mean, it's really hard. And so that you're exactly right. We have looked, and there are groups out there for women entrepreneurs that we love and we support and we cheer on, but they're a combo of service and product. And oftentimes there is a different understanding that comes along with product. So that's why we're only going after the product people. Because we very much understand that world, and we've had a coaching business, so we understand the service world too. But we know it's just way more challenging.
Do you think? Oh, go ahead.
No, I was saying that, and the cool thing about BoldSKY is it's going to be women helping women, or people helping people. However, but it's so with the foundation, women can come back in and give money to help anybody else coming in behind them. And it goes all to the women inventors. It doesn't go to us at all. This literally is to help women and make the introductions, vet out the marketing. I mean, Jules and I have wasted so much money hiring the wrong marketing firms. And now we've vetted out marketing firms, and IP attorneys and all. So we have a list, and it's a growing list. We're always looking to, relationships are everything to us. We're always looking for new relationships in those spaces to give people options, but we only want to cultivate the cream of the crop, the people that are going to do what they say they're going to do. They're going to over deliver every single time, and those are the people we want connected to BoldSKY and to our female inventors.
Well, that's fantastic. So what is the biggest myth? I mean, here you guys, took a huge leap to develop your dad's, and jumping into foundership and startup world. What was the biggest misconception you had, and that you can go in and go, let me debunk this right away? Or what's like when you coach others, like what is the advice you give people? Like, you might think it's this, but let me tell you really the realities.
It's going to cost more. It's going to take longer. And it's going to be the hardest thing you've ever probably had to do. And we still have our coaching consulting firm, and every one of our clients, we sit them down and say, just look at your numbers and then then what you're going to need for the next 6 months to a year funding wise. And women are really good at this, is stretching $1 into 10 or 100. And so they come back and they're like, oh, I just need like $100,000 to make it to get by. Yeah. We're like, no, you need probably 10 times that. And so I think that is one of the biggest misconceptions, is that people can do it and they can bootstrap. I mean, and some people can bootstrap it, and that's great if you have the means. But a lot of people don't understand the cost behind what it takes taking a product to market.
Yeah. Would you be doing this if you had no fears? Or what would you be doing if there were no fears, no worries about, stressors of money or anything? Like, would you still be doing this?
Exactly this. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't be doing anything different. I mean, the impact we knew when we started BoldSKY, OME Gear, we knew that OME Gear was a platform for impact because we walked the trade shows at the Outdoor Retail Show, which is the largest outdoor gear.
Oh, I've been there. It's a good show, but it's huge.
It is. And we walked it looking for other female founders in the hard goods space. There were ones that had chapstick and food and apparel, but there weren't any in the hard goods space like this. None in the whole show. We were like, we're on to something. We're a little bit of an anomaly. And so we knew that if we could stick this out and really grow this thing, that we would have a platform for impact. And so we didn't know at the time what the impact was going to be. But now that, because we've been in the wilderness of, you know, it being brutal to take this product to market, and we've persevered, now our voices can be heard, right? And their voices with impact, because we've been there, we've done it, we've persevered, we've grown the chutzpah that it takes to take a physical product to market. And so, and what's ahead of us on the horizon is literally so exciting. I mean, we get on calls with particularly women inventors, but also male inventors as well, probably 20 to 30 a week. We're now reaching out to us saying, can I get on a call with you? And I will tell you, Stace and I have such hearts to give back to people and give to people that every one of those calls, we find somebody that we can introduce them to. Because our network has grown, and we hold our things very loosely. We hold our money very loosely. We hold our resources very loosely. We hold our connections very loosely, but we also really value those connections. And so before we make an introduction, we will always reach out to that person and say, hey, we have this person we'd like to introduce you to. Are you okay with an intro? And so we've just learned a lot along the way of how to respect other people's time. And so I don't know, like, I just feel like we're on the exact right path that we're supposed to be on. And because of that, I wouldn't do anything different.
I love it. I love it. So if you could change two things, like I give you a magic wand and you could change two things about BoldSKY or OME Gear, what two things would you change?
It's a great question.
I mean, obviously I would change the funding aspect, that we would have been gotten capitalized, you know, sooner than where we are. I feel like that, but I also feel like that, and Jules mentioned our faith, that God does have us. He has to take everything away, because what we do with a little is what we're going to do with a lot. Now we have to show that and improve that. And so I feel like that it's his timing, but you know, if I could change it, obviously it would have taken the stress off of us immensely. But and I probably wouldn't look like I'm 80, but that would be one. You know, Jules, do you have another one?
You know, it's the stress, honestly, because stress takes such a toll on your body. And I mean, this put me in the hospital, and I had a vasovagal syncope issue when I was in a restaurant and completely passed out. My blood pressure, Stace couldn't find it, my pulse. They had to take me out of the hospital on a stretcher and to the ER. And so, I mean, that kind of stuff, like, nobody wishes that on anybody.
And she was only a half a glass of wine in. It was not alcohol. Literally,
Right. Oh, I think one of the most stressful, like I've been in the ER twice for almost like panic attacks, anxiety attacks, thinking I was having a heart attack. So I think we've all kind of faced that. Because stress is something I don't think people really understand the impact that founders have. You know, I don't want to say it's a rite of passage, but it's also one that does change you. I mean, we become better humans. We become more resilient. We learn about ourselves. We understand people. And I think we connect with people and kind of have that. I was like I call myself now an optimistic, cynical humanist is my, you know, because I'm, you know, I used to be very, you know, had this idealism, but, you know, the pragmatic side, the cynicism, you know, has kind of like, you know, this is just how people are going to act and behave, but I'm still very optimistic.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think I'd like to add one more in, and this one, I'm going to try to say this without tears, but I wish things would have happened sooner before Jules's mom passed. And she passed away of breast cancer in July of last year. And so not even.
I'm so sorry. Yeah.
So she was an incredible prayer warrior for us. And so I just feel like that. I just wish she would have seen it. Like,
yeah, she is.
Yeah, she is. Yeah, that's true. That's a really good one. I always said that success to me is not about money, and because money will come and go, and all of that,
Right.
and you can only spend so much, and so it's like,
right.
It's just money. It's a tool for really beautiful things, but I always said success for me was when my mom and dad were somewhere and they saw the Wanderer and they texted and said, honey, talking to both of us, you did it. That would have been success. And so it's going to have to come in a different way for my mom. My dad is he is a huge cheerleader of ours. Believes in us when sometimes we're like, you sure, Dad? He's like, nope, keep going.
keep going. I want to see that Wanderer on there. I was going to ask you, like, who is your biggest cheerleader? Obviously, you guys are cheerleaders for each other, and that's nice to have that partnership. But who's the biggest cheerleader in your life? Is it your dad?
And my mom.
And your mom?
Yeah. Yeah. I would say, yep, my dad and her mom. We have a lot of really huge cheerleaders in our families and all of that, and friends. But I will say, I just did a post on this. It's really interesting how on LinkedIn, when you decide to walk the road of product entrepreneurship, even entrepreneurship in general, your friends change. And it's not that you lose the old friends, but you have to have a group, even if it's just a small 1 or 2 people in your life who understand the road of entrepreneurship, where they don't tell you when it's hard to go get a job, or they don't think that just because you're posting great things on social media that you're crazy successful and now you're not relatable.
That's right.
You have to really kind of change friendships, keep the old, but really embrace the new. Of people who get it, because if not,
I cannot agree more.
Yeah.
I mean, and we hear this all the time, and I felt it. It's like my circles change. Like I still have my girlfriends and stuff, but there are things that I cannot talk to them about. They won't get it. It's not even. And then you start getting thirsty. There was a period in my journey because I started, I have two, I run this, and then I have a marketing agency, and I started that in 2013 after, the glass ceiling actually got slammed on my head, where I was told, you can wait out the mindset of our leadership, but, maybe they'll change their mind for women to be at, at this level. And I was like, well, I'm not going to wait 10 years. I'll just start my own company. But there was a period after like 2-3 years, I was so alone. Cause I didn't really have a community, a circle. There wasn't a lot of women in my community that were like that I could find. Until it was like 2018 is when I kind of entered into women and minority community space, and I was like, of entrepreneurs, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like this is amazing. And a lot of us were feeling that. Was like 30 of us, I don't know, handful, 6, 8, 10, we would cry like, you don't understand. This is so, and people on the outside were like, I don't understand why they're so emotional. It's like, I was like, I was alone for, 5 years, but I was like, there were women in this, had come into this group in 2018 who had been running a business, and they had grown to like 1,000 employees, and it was just them. They're like, I've been doing this for 20 years and never had anybody I could reach out to. And so, it's, so I love community, and I preach that as like, if you're an entrepreneur, if you're thinking about like, you will find your connections, and you need to make new connections, because you need to have a place to vent, to ask advice that's safe, because not all spaces are safe to ask advice that, you're not going to get somebody with an agenda, which we've seen, a lot of entrepreneurs getting taken advantage of in some ecosystems. So, we try to, want to encourage that, because it can be a lifesaver for people. And, even like what you guys are building with BoldSKY, it's now going to be a safe space for people to be nurtured and be able to ask questions and have somebody walk alongside them in this journey that gets it. So it's powerful.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yes. In the waiting period of BoldSKY, we've started 3 mastermind groups with female inventors, and it is a safe place, and it's something that they look forward to every week that they're on, because it's not about us. It's about them. It's about their community. And that is a common thread, is they don't have anybody. They feel alone. They're on an island. And all of a sudden you put them in a mastermind group with 12 other like-minded women, and they don't feel like they're an alien. They're like, oh my gosh, and we started a WhatsApp group for each of the groups. And so they communicate, they ask questions, they lean into each other. And these are people that they would have never met, because they're all from all over the United States and Canada. And so it's like, now we put them in, we've opened up this space for them, that they're doing, not side deals, but they're helping each other out on LinkedIn or Instagram, or they're doing collabs together. And it's just really cool to sit back and watch that all of a sudden these women come with tears, and then they show up with smiles because they're excited about the next, what's happening this week in the master.
That's right. You only need a few, like, they become their own cheerleaders to each other.
Exactly.
So, we talked about like the stress of it. What do you guys do to manage your stress and the mental health and keep well from that aspect of it? And how do you coach that for your people that are in your circles?
Yeah, I love that question too. You're asking great questions. For us, it's all about gratitude. When we remain in a place of gratitude, so we'll go on walks, and one of us will inevitably say what's something that you're thankful for. And then it will just sort of shift our mindset to focus on what we have and not perseverate on what we don't have, So gratitude is one thing. I think it's stepping away from the business as well, because it can be all consuming. I mean, it really can. And so for Stace and I, it's going out on dates and making sure that, we're connecting with each other and connecting with our families and making our families priority. And then going and hanging out with our friends who don't understand business talk. And so it's like we're forced to not be able to talk about that. Right. And so that's good. We can't have all of that, but we have to have the other like-minded ones in our lives. But it's about balance, and they're not necessarily work-life balance, because honestly, I'm not a believer in that. I'm just not. I mean, because
I've been more of like, you're balancing the imbalance.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds really good, but what does that look like? So if you want work-life balance, go get a 9-to-5 job. Because then you'll have the balance. But if you choose to be an entrepreneur, then you're just not going to have work-life balance. There are going to be seasons where you're going to be balls to the wall and you have to work 22 hours a day, right? Because just where you are. But then there will be seasons where you can rest and recuperate and recover and then go back at it again. And so I think it is balance, but it's like choosing balance in the middle of the chaos. I love the name of your podcast.
I know. Well, it's about what we talked to. I think I polled like 200-300 different founders across the country, and I was, it's like, what word, comes up most in your world? And, and it was like, you'd hear trailblazer, and you'd hear, bold and all that, but chaos kept coming up. But it was interesting. It was, there were some people that were like, oh my God, chaos gives me anxiety. Like, that word gives me so many. And then there were others, more overwhelmingly were like, oh no, that is our world, but I welcome it. And and we talk that on the marketing side of the agency. I'm like, we help companies with, like, we thrive in that chaos, trying to build the structure that they need, try to give them the clarity that they need through the chaos. But it's such a fantastic word that really describes our worlds.
Why I love it is because, and why it fits so perfectly is because an entrepreneur when they kind of get their wings is when they realize that they're the chief problem solver.
Mm-hmm.
And problems get solved in chaos, right? I mean, chaos creates problems.
That's right.
And so
it's like we always say, you get the aha from the oh shit, and sometimes you get the oh shit in an aha discovery.
Yeah,
you are so exactly right, which is why I am connecting so much with the title of your podcast. I love it.
No, that's great. Okay, so if we meet a year from now, wherever, what would we be toasting? What would we be celebrating?
We'll be celebrating at least 100 women in the product space that we will have invested in. That's our goal. A quarter. That's our initial bottom lowest goal. So we'll be toasting that because like we said, we believe we're close to our funding closing. It's been a hell of a ride to get here, but we're almost here. And so once it comes, like I said earlier,
and we can go. And have you guys already identified the 100? Because when I hear that, I was like, oh, that's such a small number. But I know I've talked to, some other there's not enough women founders, and I'm like, oh, you would be surprised at how many are out there.
Yes, we've identified many of them. We did a summit back in was it April of last year? Yeah. Out in California, and we had 80 inventors show up, and
wow.
So, and then just from that, we have met so many inventors who are looking forward to BoldSKY. I mean, we have 30 people right there in our mastermind group that will be able to invest in that first cohort, and that's just that's our minimum goal. If we can get further than that, I mean, obviously, it does take money, but we also want to keep the cohorts smaller so they can build connections within the cohorts.
But that's just the minimum, right? Just the minimum.
We purposely want to keep them small because they'll become their own group and their own they'll do their own masterminds and stuff like that. So we purposely want to keep. Now, if we could do more cohorts throughout the year, but we have to start somewhere.
Do they have to pay? So the funding is to help cover that, to get a sponsor, or do they have to pay to be a part of the cohort?
We're finalizing that right now. Okay. We're going back and forth between they should pay a little bit because they invest in it, but then the application process is going to be pretty stringent. So that's kind of how they pay, is by really investing time in that. So as soon as funding comes, we're going to finalize all of those details.
Yeah.
But our goal is to be a resource to every woman in the product space, right?
Yeah.
But like Stace said, we need to walk before we run. And so those first women that come in will be sort of the pilot with us, really building this program so that it's not, we will never have videos that they watch on their own and self-tutor themselves.
Right.
It will be interactive. It will be resourceful, that they can come and get exactly the help that they need. And I'm not saying that that's bad. I'm just saying those kinds of videos where you self-teach have never been helpful for Stacy and I.
No.
We need the interaction. We need the, like-minded people. So we're building it out where it's very hands-on. It's very customized. And so, we need to get the program built, make sure that it's right, and then we can funnel a bunch of people through it. And that's our goal. But in a year,
we're going to celebrate.
At least be celebrating 100.
Are you guys going to be doing then? Like you said, you had a summit last April. Is that the plan to still have a summit every year to kind of celebrate
absolutely.
Those that are in the
and then meet new ones.
Meet new ones. And is that going to be a traveling summit, or as in it was in California? Is it always going to be in California, or is it just wherever you guys want to travel to?
No, our plan is to do them in Charleston, South Carolina.
Oh, good, yeah. Well, then I'll come to that.
Absolutely. All right. Good luck.
All right. So if you had to sum up your founder journey in one word, what would that word be?
I'm going to make it be all one word, but it's more than one.
Yeah.
It's a hybrid word. We make up words.
That's right. The word is one hell of a ride. Yeah. And I mean, that's positive and that's terrifying.
It says it all.
Yeah. One hell of a ride.
And mine is exhilarating. So it kind of goes together.
Yeah.
It's been quite
one
exhilarating.
Hell of a ride. That's exhilarating. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then if you look to next chapter, what what word describes that next chapter in your journey?
What's yours? This is one we're going to say really fast. Worth it.
Worth it. Yeah.
I love it. And mine is adventure. I think our best is yet to come. And
I think so. You guys are just, I think, scratching a surface.
Yeah. Yeah. When Stace and I got married, one of the vows that we vowed to each other is that we would live a life of adventure, that no grass would grow under our feet, that every day would be a day that's lived to the full. Yeah. And I believe truly in my heart of hearts that our best is yet to come.
Yeah.
And
well,
so
especially
it's me excited.
You're building circles of innovators, and especially in the, the product space, something's going to spark. You never know. The energy and the adventure that might embark you. Right?
Yeah. Right.
Well, I'm so excited on this. What piece of advice, or what's your best advice that you give to everybody when you coach? Like, hands down, what is the best advice either you've been given or you like to give?
I'll go because you're thinking.
I have it, but go ahead.
Know exactly why you're doing what you're doing. And if you can, find the calling piece of it, right? A product will come and go. And I mean, it's like, whatever, who cares? I mean, we care about our Wanderer. We care about OME Gear. But ultimately, we have found the why to what we're doing. And when you find the why, it's virtually impossible to give up. So people say, don't give up, like keep going. Right. But if it's just about a product, it's easy to give up, right? If it's just about a solution, it's easy to give up.
Right.
If you really connect with the depth of why you want to take this product to market, you'll have the energy that you need to give up, and the resilience and the grit and the scrappiness and all those things that are must-haves in order to take a product to market.
And also know your values. Know your value personally, but know your values and live by your values. Hire through your values, fire through your values. And we always say, give someone 6 months to show they're crazy. And we live by that. And
it's true.
Yeah.
And pay attention to the yellow lights. Because in the United States, a yellow light has never turned green. And so we always tell our clients that, and we help them figure out what their values are, because that's a hard exercise to do.
It is a hard exercise. Yeah.
And you want to have faith in everyone, but not everybody is. That doesn't mean everyone's not. I mean, not everybody's on the up and up, I should just say, but or not everybody matches your values. And so,
right. Or not everybody is genuine of what they say in an interview. We've had to change kind of how we interview, because I feel like I've hired wrong. Have listened to what the words and not their actions and their behaviors. And that does come out. I love I'll give you 6 months to see the crazy, but yeah, I like that. But yeah, it's a hard, it's one of the hardest things is to find somebody. I mean, you're never going to find anybody that's as passionate about the business or whatever, but there are things. And, Chandler's new on our team. Actually, he just celebrated his 1 year with us.
He passed 6 months.
And, he passed the 6 months, and he's got a lot of 1 year big celebrations. He just got married a week ago. He's,
congrats.
1 week or 1 year celebration here. But it was, I think we put him through a ringer we didn't do the job that we needed to do, and it caused toxicity in our team. And it was one of those things of you knew it, you feel it, but it's no, you want to give people the benefit of the doubt. Then it's no, they're revealing themselves to you. You need to just knock it up to do better, hire better the next time. But yeah, we took a long time to refocus of how do you hire for the values when they're not, when they're really intangible, Yeah. How do you hire for agility and nimbleness, and interview through that? That's one of our,
Put them on the racetrack.
Right. That's right. And so it's just through the interview, asking questions and also really telling stories, because it's not just we're interviewing them. The stories that we plant and the stories that we describe, they need to see themselves in those stories, because they're interviewing us too. Do they really want to be a part of this team? We work in chaos, not just our, but we help other companies and founders and, and not even founder. I'm we're working with, companies that are 25 million or 250 million or half billion that are even more chaotic than a startup.
Right.
Because they've been in business for 50 years. They have these really bad habits that have formed, and it's giant ships that you've got to turn around. So they've never had any discipline in branding, no discipline in marketing operations and an engine, and absolutely no discipline and plan for advertising and how to really look at the media space through the lens of strategy. And so it's, we're entering those spaces, and it's like, so we're therapists, we're counselors, but people that come onto our team need to be ready. I don't think Chandler still gets his, mind blown of, you weren't kidding. Now I see what you were like. It is real. And even it's just when you talk to the startup scene and people who've been in business for, 3 years or 5 years, and that's really like startup, or even 10 years. And they're like, I know big companies do it different. I'm like, no, if I showed you the shit we're doing for a company that's been around for 100 years, you'd make you feel better. It's like, it's okay. We all have that. It's, only the biggest of brands who we all admire, but it's, they have the millions of dollars that they've invested in those frameworks and those circles, and they've got the monitoring systems. I'm like, you don't have that. You've never had that. And so let's take the learnings that we had working with those big companies, and let's bring it down to a level that really helps fuel the business, but doing it in the right way and more, intentional way. But yeah, we live in crazy.
Absolutely. But it's kind of fun, right?
It is fun. Like, I wouldn't have it any other way. Know, when you go and try to interview, I think there was before I started this, I kind of took time and interviewed at different brands to go, maybe I want to be a brand, I've always been an agency side. I've, always been the agency person working with the big brands, but I never worked, in those halls. I did like 4 interviews, and I with different companies. I'm like, I can't do that. That is not for me. I need the different industries, the different audiences, the different projects, the different my superpower is curiosity and dot connection. So I need that fueled at all times.
Yes, for sure.
Oh, that's fantastic. Okay, we have gone way long, but I've loved this conversation, and I'm so glad that we met. And I feel like maybe we've run it in each other in circles in the past, but I might be crazy. But before we go, how do you want people to support you, connect with you, learn more about what you're doing?
Yeah, for me, the best place to connect is just on LinkedIn. So Jules Weldon, I'm really active on LinkedIn and give advice and tips and thoughts and, musings. So anybody can just connect with me, Jules Weldon. And if they do, send me a DM telling me that they heard us on the show, because I'd love to know that it came from you.
And if you connect with her, you're connecting with me.
You're like, all good. Very
that
good.
Is, yeah.
And we'll tag and make sure we link everything. But I appreciate your guys' time. This was such a great conversation.
So
I loved hearing about your journey. It is fascinating. And road is just starting to get paved for you guys. The journey is still happening.
Yeah,
just the beginning.
It is. We're excited. Thank you so much for inviting us. It's an honor to be on here with you.
And for everybody listening or watching us, thank you for joining us. The podcast obviously is available on all your favorite podcast platforms. So subscribe to Hello Chaos, give us a 5-star review on Apple or Spotify, or share this great content and help us build a more connected entrepreneurial community. Hello Chaos is one of the many resources brought to you by Orange Whip. That is Orange Whip, WIP for Work in Progress. We are a multimedia company dedicated to serving founders and entrepreneurs. We've designed media platforms that inform, inspire, and be the independent connective tissue between founders and the local entrepreneurial ecosystem. We've really done all the hard work for founders, so they just need to go to one trusted place to find the information they need to help them along their journey. If you'd like to be a guest on our podcast or support us, send us an email to hello@orangewhip.com. Y'all, thank you for tuning in to Hello Chaos. It is where AHA meets oh shit, and we will see you again next week.